Hey, it's Romania Black, and we're on volume 6 of Fire Punch. I like with volume 5, I took a little bit of time off to catch up with some other reactions after reading volume 5, because I read volumes like 1 through 4 in a whirlwind, and then took some time off, read volume 5, and then I caught up with some other things, and now I'm back to volume 6. I'm trying to get everything kind of, streamlined. I've got some trips planned in March that I will be away from my computer, so I'm trying to get most of my March reactions kind of in line before I go, and this being one of them. But honestly, I needed a little bit of time to process volume 5. I didn't spend a lot of time on the discussion with that volume in comparison to other volumes. One, because there was a lot that happened, but honestly, most of the volume was a big back and forth conversation between Togata and Agni, and both of them kind of deconstructing each other's characters. And so there wasn't like a lot, there was a lot that happened. Then by the end of the volume, it's like, oh my god, Sulya, the ice witch, is like just decided to make Togata a giant tree. We've already like started killing everyone. I was kind of floored by the end of volume 5, because one, I was kind of flabbergasted, like, we still have 3 full volumes, and the end of volume 5 was kind of like the big thing before the climax, and I'm like, we got 3 volumes left to go. What we doing, Fujimoto? And so, but I'll trust Fujimoto because I think they're in control of this, right? I found out what I would compare this series to. There's a movie I would compare it to, and I feel like I need to see it all the way through to do a proper breakdown, but before I forget about it, I was watching a review today of Pink Flamingos, which is a John Waters film. It is very scandalous, it is crude, it is vulgar, it goes into some crazy directions, but the thing about it is that John Waters knows exactly what he's doing as a filmmaker. He pushes the envelope intentionally, and he does it to satirize several different things. Pink Flamingos is in a large part, if you've ever heard of that film, the drag queen Divine is one of the main stars, which is funny. We talk about Togata and gender and everything in volume 5. But the film itself is kind of satirizing the fact that around the time it came out in the 1970s, there had been a public release of pornographic films. And so that the porno chic kind of era had happened in film. And John Waters was deeply satirizing that and just saying, well, fine, you'll let us show this on screen. Well, then we're just going to show everything. And I feel like in large part, Fire Punch is sort of a manga equivalent to Pink Flamingos, at least at this point, because it's almost like Fujimoto. Fujimoto knows exactly what they're doing. He knows exactly the boundaries he's pushing and how far he can go. And it's almost saying, oh, so we can tell these dark stories? We can get, deep and grim in our storylines of this shonen manga? Okay, why don't we do this? And then he just pushes the envelope as far as it possibly can go. But there's definitely more to it than that, so I don't really want to do a deep dive between comparing Pink Flamingos to Fire Punch. But I was watching that review today, and I'm like, man, this sounds a lot like Fujimoto and Fire Punch. So that's where I am with that. But we have 3 volumes left. And honestly, I didn't have a lot to talk about last volume. One, because it was mainly Togata and Agni's back and forth, Togata's death, all this going on, but also because it was a lot of talk about gender and the idea of this discussion of transgender and things with Togata. And honestly, if I'm being real, it is a subject matter I am not familiar with. I am not a trans person. So for me, it feels uncomfortable talking about someone else's experience that I have no connection to. So I feel like I don't want to talk for a trans person with this character because I don't understand that experience. So I think I said in the reaction, like, if you were a trans person and you're watching this video, it would be cool for you to comment down below and give your talk. Or if you're non-binary or whatever, I'm not non-binary and I'm not trans. So I don't really have a voice for that argument. But I think it's very interesting because, and I've got some comments to go through before we start this, Agni, talking about his relationship with Togata, back in volume 2, I went back and reread some of the volumes leading up to this. Back in volume 2, he was saying that he would be Togata's hero back in volume 2. And that discussion about now, she kind of, it almost seems like the end of volume 5, Togata accepts that Agni is her hero, and that's why he has to live on, because he's doing the heroic thing for her. And it's all about this acceptance of self, mentally, socially, physically, biologically. There's all these different factors of how we accept ourselves and how we define ourselves and our agency. And so it was a beautiful look into Togata kind of being at odds, because in a lot of stories, you know, there's not a lot of hurdles stopping a character from being who they want to be. And in this, there is a very distinct hurdle that is, she can't get over it, right? It's something that she can't change. And so it's fascinating, right? And I really, really like that conversation that Fujimoto is bringing up. I think it's important, and it's something that is interesting and unique. But yeah, that was a big part of Volume 5 that I'm like, I really hope people have things they can add to the conversation. Moon, who's been on the Discord, had lots of different things to say, and I'm slowly catching up with comments as these videos are coming out on YouTube and Patreon. I feel like at some point I'm going to read some more of Fujimoto's one-shots since they've come out, and so I think what I'm going to do is any comments that I get for the later volumes that I read that I don't get a chance to see or answer to in future videos, I will save those, and then after a couple weeks or so, maybe around May, when I get the chance, I'll look at another Fujimoto one-shot and I'll answer those questions about Fire Punch then that I couldn't get to during the reactions. But Moon was talking about how Judah tucks her hair behind her ear like Luna did. Again, Solia kind of brought up that there's this idea that maybe Yuna and all them are all copies. They're all like clones that have been, you know, used throughout the years. My thing is, if Solia looks like, we haven't seen what Solia looks like, and I'm going to talk about that with the cover here in a minute. We don't know what Solia looks like. We do. Yeah, she looks like Judah. And so we do know what Solia looks like. But Solia, Judah, and Luna all look the same, and they all seem to be carbon copies, maybe clones, maybe augmented, you know, creations by humanity hundreds of years ago. But Agni doesn't look like them. So is Agni really Luna's brother or not? Because we've not seen any other person look like Agni. We've seen like 3 so far that look the same, Yuna and Judah and Solia. But Agni's been his own person. So are there other blessed that look like Agni that are regenerative? We don't know, right? We've not gotten that far. Why not? Why Judah? Why Solia? Why Luna? Badal Singh talked about how Agni in Sanskrit, and other people commented on this, means fire. And essentially his name means fire god, which is a nice foreshadowing from Volume 1 of where we're at now with his character. But it also sounds like agony. It's like, yeah, that's his character's going through a lot by the end of Volume 5. Non-binary Jutlung talked about how, you know, we have cannibalism in Volume 1. There's a thing about, you know, the Eucharist with Christ and eating the body of Christ. It's funny because in drinking the blood of Christ, at the time I didn't really talk about it because I was like, yeah, there's that religious parallel, but that's all, you know, metaphorical. Here it's literal. It's like Fujimoto's like, what if we really had people eating people? But what's funny about that, and I told non-binary Jutlung in the comments, is that, you know, technically Agni was worshipped by the village that he was in. I was like, that's really crazy, right? And him and Yuna, and it's almost, my theory was, though, I'm like, if Agni is this representative of kind of like a Christian god, like, you know, if we're doing the body of Christ metaphor and all this, is Yuna a representation of paganism? Because you have Yuna, you have Judah, and you have Luna, Judah, and Solia, who all look the same. Are they like representative of multiple gods, like a paganist thing, and Agni's the one god, like the Christian god? Is there kind of a correlation there? I don't know. That could be interesting. Alexander Q. I liked Alexander Q's commentary about the cold being a justification of society's actions, and that being a commentary. I agree. The idea that people are doing things, they're like, throughout volumes 1 through 4, essentially people are like, oh, I had to do it. It was cold. The madness, the murder, it was caused by the cold. You know, giving society's actions justification through nature is fascinating and a really cool angle that Fujimoto kind of explores. And it's something that we see in our own societies and cultures. So I thought that was rather interesting. And then again, Moon comes back and talks about how apparently this series was Fujimoto's all or nothing manga series, because this came out before Chainsaw Man, before the one-shots that I've read so far. This was like his first big dabble into a serialized multi-volume work. So I kind of get it. I kind of get that Fujimoto was like, well, I'm going to do what I want to do, and it's either going to work and they're going to let me keep drawing, or it's going to flop and I'll be like, well, I tried. Right? So I thought that was rather fascinating that Fujimoto was like, well, I'm going to give it my all and hope it works out. And I'm glad it worked out for him. I am. I thought that was really cool. And then, yeah, Moon saying that in Volume 3, interesting. Togata, there was actually a moment where I was wondering if Togata was playing with Agni. Apparently, Volume 3, Togata told Agni that they could activate his arm with a word, and that was in a flashback before Ben Dork, and I just didn't notice it during the read through. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, I don't know where we'll go from here. We're at Volume 6. The thing about the cover is it's either Solia, I think it's Solia, or it's Judah, or it's Luna. Luna's dead. Judah's a tree. So is it Judah and inside of her is a human, or is this Solia who looks like her? So I don't know, but I'm honestly, after Volume 5, Agni is in this apparent pit of despair. Togata is apparently dead. Luckily Sun and Neneto are off in the distance. They're not being attacked by the tree. Maybe they'll stay over there if they're smart and not get attacked by the tree yet. But I'm like, if this is Endgame, we have 3 more volumes. What do we do? What do we do? Solia doesn't seem to think that Agni can stop Judah. So where does that leave us? I don't know. I have a big question mark going into this volume, and I have no clue what to expect. And that's not a bad thing, but here we go. So yeah, so I'm really curious, y'all. I hope y'all enjoy this volume, but we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to just jump right in and see what happens. So I hope y'all are excited, but we are going to read Volume 6 of Fire Punch and see what we get. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. So that went not at all like I expected. At this point, what do we expect? What do we expect? I give Fujimoto a lot of props in this volume for going there with Agni, for being like, this guy's gone mad. You don't believe me? Well, let me tell ya, he's gone a little bit cuckoo. And I'm getting the vibes, and I could be totally wrong, and I'm fully expecting to be wrong, but I'm going to throw a theory out here, and I don't want confirmation. I don't want to know any crazy theories till we're done with this story, because I don't want it to like ruin or spoil anything. But I'm almost to the point where I'm wondering if the Blesseds themselves are even human. If they are like some kind of like human artificial intelligence hybrid, if they're clones, if they are creations that have cloned themselves over the years, because we've established it is way, way in the future from now, from our present day time. It is way in the future. Like 2200 seems like it's way in the past in this world. So it's possible like technology could have gotten to a crazy point, right? We don't know for sure. But I almost wonder if Agni and them are just, they're all like clones, artificial intelligence that gained consciousness, and they just keep rebooting themselves because Judah reboots herself, like reincarnates into it, like the system rebooted and started all over. The processor, the hard drive was wiped clean, and now we're starting back over with Luna. And Agni doesn't care. He finally gets what he wants. The miracle happens that he wants. So he doesn't really question like, this seems rather odd that she's had a memory wipe and is just totally normal now. And is believing everything I say. Like Agni doesn't know. And like Togata said, they've not been educated. So he doesn't know. He has the processing mind of a 15-year-old and doesn't get it. So, oh my God. I give Fujimoto props for making the main character go there. And the part where he starts lying and telling himself and like the warping his perception into what he needs to believe to survive. We're just diving onto this. But honestly, the whole stuff with Judah, I was like, this seems like a climactic battle, but no, the climax is Agni fighting himself. The enemy is himself. That's the deal. He is the enemy. That's the point that's getting brought up here, and it's like, okay, all right, cool. You're going there, show. You're going there, series. Let's do this. But Solia, the Ice Witch, no clue. Sun, Neneto, no clue. Everybody else is probably dead. as far as we know, I wanted to bring Whiteboard Coon out for a number of reasons. And one is to just keep track of where the hell everybody is. Because at this point in the story, I wondered why we needed 3 more volumes. Now I know why we need 3 more volumes. Because presumably the next volume is going to be Agni versus himself. Is going to be Agni versus himself to figure out what the hell he needs to do. That's presumably where we're going to with this, I guess. And then we'll need at least another volume to round out this madness, I guess. It's a wild ride. I'm actually impressed by this volume because I was really worried. I was like, how are we getting out of the thing with the eye switch? We take care of that pretty easy. Doma has a kid, had several kids. We'll talk about that. The girl, Leanne, she's pregnant with the kid of somebody that raped her. There's a whole implication with that. And Agni being okay with murder as long as his sister's okay. We'll talk about that with him, but okay. So loose ends. We need to put this up here. Loose ends. These are all things that we need answers to by the end of this series that Fujimoto may not give us the answers to. He may be like, no. And then and I won't be surprised if Fujimoto's like, nah, not important. I'll be like, okay, you be that way. My big thing is Sun and Aneto. Sun and Aneto, they are off, off by themselves. If they just stayed away and we didn't see them till the very end of the series and they went off and had kids and started a family of their own off far away and were surviving on their own, I'd be fine with it. You know, you'd wipe yourself clean of everything. You got away, good for you. So we got that. Solia the Ice Witch. I feel like we have not seen the last of her. And the thing of it is that Agni is convinced that it's just pure coincidence that Judah looked like Luna, and he convinces himself that she is Luna after she loses her memory. And he says, well, I'll have my little sister this way. Why not? He's been suffering through all this madness for 8 years. Why not? She doesn't know any better. Why not? But the thing of it is, he's never seen Solia with her hood down, so he doesn't know that there are also others that look like Luna. So there is some question there. I feel like she is going to come back in volume 7 or 8 to make a statement to Agni, to kind of be like, look, you think this, but also this, to kind of put a twist in there, right? I feel like we're not done with her because she just is like, oh, the tree fell. Huh. So that whole plot point was gone. And like, we spent the latter half of volume 5 building up this lore, this mythology, everything about this damn tree, warming up the world, and then it was gonna like change life as we know it and like reach the stratosphere and bring in life from other planets and all this stuff. And Agni just went, no. The tree was botched. The tree was botched in 2 chapters. I was like, man, Fujimoto. I feel like that's such a, if we're talking about satirization, I feel like there's a lot in this volume that is satirizing. So I'm glad I brought up Pink Flamingos. But there's a lot in this volume that is a satire of the shonen formula. A satire of what we expect our action hero to do. And because Agni does a lot of things that are not commendable in this volume. They're not the things that you expect your hero to do, but like Agni says, he's like, I've always been told what I am. I've never really allowed myself to be myself. He's like, I've been told I'm Agni. I've been told I'm the hero. I've been told I'm a god. He's like, now I'm being told I'm Fire Punch. He's like, I've never really had a chance to be myself and to have my own identity. Again, relating back to Togata. So the tree thing, I'm going to just say that the tree mythos is all just a satirical farce. Because yeah, it's almost like a satire of the lore of the shonen world building, where it's like, oh, but there's this thing and we could do this magical MacGuffin thing that will get us this world domination, blah, blah. And Fujimoto's like, yeah, no. Like, I'm just going to destroy it in 2 chapters. That was really cool and all, right? Oh, you didn't think so? Okay, then we'll get rid of it. Yeah, it's something else, but I want to get in this. So we do know that it is Judah / Luna on the cover. It's not Celia, as far as we know. But yeah, I wondered why we brought up Doma in this. Now it makes sense. We've got his daughters, or his daughter, Leanne. Togata's still with us in spirit. And then we have the Eye Switch and Sen and Neto that we don't see in this volume. So yeah, man. Oh, what a thing. We're talking in the comments in the Discord about the use of color and shading. And somebody was pointing out in the comments, they're like, it's probably a good thing this isn't in color because Fujimoto does such a good job of the line work and the shading and the use of black and white. And I agree, it's so effective. And I almost forget that it's not in color when I read it. And I almost don't expect it to be in color. Like the covers are kind of surprising because you don't expect it to be in color. But man. So I was wondering how in the world was Agni going to like get out of this tree business? And it's by sheer force. Like he sees Togata and them just burnt to a crisp. And he says, I have nothing left to live for. So why am I not dying? What's the deal? Why haven't the flames gone out yet? And I like that Celia is just sitting in the chair like, why aren't you dying? And then he hears a voice from the tree, and it's Judah, but it sounds like Luna as well, saying, I want to die, but I can't die on my own. I'm at the top of the tree. Boss level, right? So I'll put Agni. We'll get this pink out here. We're going to put Agni here. Agni, wrought her. And then we'll put Luna. Put Luna / Judah right here. It's so bizarre because honestly, if I'm being real, I think Judah's dead. I think the character known as Judah is no more. I feel like when she got rebooted and became Luna again, when her memory was wiped, that was the end of Judah. That was the Judah technically died. So I feel like Judah is dead and Luna is reborn. I'm waiting for there to be a twist where Agni, who has been struggling with his memory and struggling with his own psychological and mental state this entire time, I'm waiting for there to be a twist that he's always known Luna is not his sister, and he's just been portraying her that way this entire time. Which, if that is the case, then it would make the whole could be incest thing in Volume 1 not so bad. So, if they weren't really brother and sister, if they were just like androids that were clones, sure, we'll go with that. But again, I don't know if that's the case. The idea of her losing her memories and restarting, it could be symbolic, just like a regeneration, like a phoenix thing. It could be a symbolic motif, or they could really be like android robots that just get rebooted and reconfigured. And Celia is one of them that's trying to destroy the world. We'll see. But yeah, so Judah wants to die. And then Judah says, I'm the one who built Behemdork and I created Doma. So I'm technically the one that killed your little sister. So Judah says that it's all, she kind of relates to Agni in this moment, saying it's all her fault, that she built the city and created the man that killed his sister. And by created, I don't think that she means she literally made him. I feel like she figuratively created Doma to be who he is. She helped by creating Behemdorg, by doing all the stuff Doma was talking about where he was kind of brainwashed into becoming this soldier. She technically created who he was, persona-wise. And then he realized that, and that's kind of what made him change later on. So she's like, I want you to kill me. So Agni goes through this process, right? And I feel like we need to detail it. Agni goes through this process where Judah tells him that she wants to die. She gives him all the motivation. She's like, technically, if you're seeking revenge, it should be on me. Come at me, bro. And so Agni decides to kill Judah for revenge. To satisfy that revenge that, as the intro of the book said, has shaded over his heart. And him just climbing up the tree, Wolverine style. That's so badass. I absolutely loved that moment. It's so badass. And then just the way that Fujimoto has the dialogue where it's like, he's like, I'll wipe you out, I'll kill you. And then it's almost like poetry. It read like a slam poet where he's like, I'll kill you, kill me, I'll kill you dead, kill me, I'll kill him, I'll kill you. It's like you have Solia saying kill him, Agni saying I'll kill you, Judah saying kill me, and she's like kill him, kill me, I'll kill you dead, kill me, I'll kill you, kill him, kill me, I'll kill you. It almost sounds like a song, right? It's just creating a rhythm, and I'm like, God, Fujimoto. And then we get the internal monologue he has where he's like, maybe a miracle will happen. Maybe everyone will come back to life. And I'm like, and the thing of it is, he destroyed the tree. I don't think those people came back to life. I don't think that's what happened. And so he says in that moment, he questions miracles and whether they exist or not. He's like, is what happened to me a miracle, or is it just this weird phenomena that does have an explanation, but I can't understand it? It's almost like Agni is realizing, he's like, there's no such thing as miracles. Things just happen, and I either understand how they work or I don't. But it's not that they just happen miraculously, right? He's like, even my being alive while engulfed in flames is only because I've completely lost my mind. So he likens the flames to him losing himself to revenge and hatred. Which kind of makes sense, because then you see, like, you look back to Togata and Luna from volume 1, and they both were like, they kind of just accepted things, and they didn't have hatred in their hearts. They just let it go, and were like, okay, well, live for us, right? And they just let it pass on. But Agni wasn't able to do that. He became enraged and consumed by revenge, and it's almost like the flames are a metaphor of that, right? And then it takes a physical form through Doma's flames, and him being a regenerative blessing. Like, it all kind of just, it has a explanation in the story, but it's very symbolic. As is Judah being in the vagina hole in the tree. I was like, that looks like, I know it's like a holler of a tree, but I'm like, it is shaped very, very like female genitalia, I felt like a good chunk of chapters 51 through 53 were very inspired by Neon Genesis and Evangelion, specifically End of Evangelion. So if you've not seen that series or that movie and you're curious about how it's similar, go watch it. You'll find it similar. And so he says he's going to kill Judah, but all he can think about is his sister, right? And Judah tells him, she's like, I'm not Luna. Like, I'm not your sister. I know you want to believe it, but I'm not. To the point where he questions her lying. Like, he has trouble. He has trouble understanding truths. He has trouble understanding what truths are. He's like, I don't understand. He can't process if something's real or not, which almost makes you wonder if he's even human, or if he's kind of like Luna and Judah, and then if he's a clone himself. And then him punching her, saying, a miracle, let there be a miracle. And the miracle that he wants is for Judah to die and for her body to become Luna's. Like, that's the miracle. But again, we've established that the miracle, he admits himself, there are no such thing as miracles. There's just phenomena that we either know the explanation for or we don't. So it could be that her rebooting and becoming Luna is just a phenomena that Agni doesn't get, but it has a logical explanation. We, the audience, and Agni just don't fully have all the answers to yet. And he's like, then she'll smile at me. And he's just like, just punching the tar out of her. And then it shows him with the photo. Like, a photo smacks up against, like a photo flaps in his face, right? Is the photo real or is it not? That there's so much that in this volume that Fujimoto gives us that it's like, okay, well, is this real? Or is it not real? Is it Is it in his head? That's kind of the crazy thing, is we don't know how much of this is in Agni's head. So that leaves like loose ends, like Agni's existence, like the reality of it. We're not totally given all the answers to that, right? Not given all the answers to that. But that smile that he has, and it's just like he says what a pained smile. And then he finally, and so he questions this pained smile. And who is the real me? Because he's admitted even back in previous volumes that even before everything with Doma happened, he was putting on a false smile for his sister. He was putting on this false sense of optimism and happiness, even though he was suffering, because he didn't want her to feel bad and feel like things were dour and despairing. So he would put on a smile and fake it and act, which he acts a lot in this volume. And so he's still wondering, like, who is the real me? I don't even know who I am. I feel like I'm a rooster illusion, as said in Tropic Thunder. He's like Ben Stiller in Tropic Thunder. I'm a rooster illusion. F it. So then, the tree basically just like, screw it. So, God, this tree, the swoosh of the tree limbs. And then it knocks his arm off. It knocks his arm off, but the tree, it's almost like the tree's last like self-defense just bursts out, and then it crackles and everything. But the arm gets chopped off, and we established that Judah had the power to stop regenerative blessings. So we figured out that Judah had the power to stop his blessing. I thought it was almost a dream, honestly. When him and Luna were like in the sea, I thought it was all a dream. I didn't think it was reality. I thought he was just imagining it on his head. Maybe he is. We don't know. But yeah, so Celia's just standing there being like, oh, whoa, there went my tree. So we don't know about the ice witch. I feel like the ice witch is like, well, shit, there went my big all-encompassing mythos. And then it looks like snow, all of the tree bark and everything. That shot of the tree limbs in the ocean and the fact that they're on the beach, I'm like, could you be any more into Evangelion? I don't think you could. And that Agni's no longer on fire. And there's very much an Adam and Eve motif in this moment of him, like, they're both naked on the shore, right? And she's lost her memory. She doesn't remember things. There's the lack of knowledge. So it's almost like there's very much like this Adam and Eve kind of symbolism there. Which is, again, kind of creepy if they're brother and sister, but Judah is not his sister, technically. So there's not that to worry about. I'm glad this volume didn't go there. I'm a little worried about the next volume. I really thought, when they were in the house, I really thought that Agni was gonna try to ask her about the kid thing and having kids. I thought that was gonna get brought up, and I if I'm being perfectly honest, knowing this series, I thought they were gonna have sex. And I was gonna be like, I'm not ready for that. Agni has the mind of a 15-year-old trapped in this 23-year-old body. Luna/Judah. Again, I'm going to call her Luna probably because I think Judah's dead. I think that whole persona, she got wiped out. I feel like she's not in a mental state to ask such things. But if next volume she starts to ask questions of Leanne and Leanne talks about the baby and stuff, if that jogs Luna's memory and that conversation comes up, if that's all connected and she asks Agni about that, I'm not going to be surprised. I'm not going to be surprised at all if they have sex in this at this point. And it's not technically Luna, so I guess Fujimoto could get away with it. And they're adults, so we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But yeah, this whole scene of him like towering over her body, very into Evangelion. But it's just the idea that he was going to finish the job. And he doesn't even realize that he's not on fire because we established with his character... Oh, sorry, Hook. Just landed this marker right on him. He's at my feet here. That he does not feel anything. So is this a dream? I don't know. Could be. Who knows? Is it a dream? We don't know. We're not sure. But him crying and like going to kill her because he thinks that's all he has left to do. And then her, like, where their head in the water, reaching out to him and wiping the tears from his eyes. Pages 52 through 53, they're beautiful. Like, this whole part where she talks about warmth and the waves and the sea and being cold, like, the way that Fujimoto draws it is gorgeous. Like, just the expressions and Agni being so confused with her. Like, just, and then her explaining, like, the moon and the snow and the stars. And then asking who he is. And he's like, oh, he says Luna, and he corrects himself, but then she's like, am I Luna? And he's like, yes. And at that point I was like, oh no! So he tells her that she's Luna. And that she's his sister. And that I'm your brother. Again, are they really human? I don't know. It won't surprise me if they turn out to not be. And the eye switch. It won't surprise me if Solia comes in the next 2 volumes and she's like, hey, dummies, you're not really human. Let's break this down. Like, it won't surprise me at all. I feel like Solia's not, her presence is still needed before the end of this series. But him laughing, like Agni laughing, and he's like, and he knows that she's not Luna. He knows that she's not. But he's like, she just has her face and voice, and he keeps saying that he's going to kill her. He's like, she's better off dead. He's like, he knows. The thing of it is that he knows the truth. He knows it. But he backs away from it. Because when she hugs him and says it's warm, and when she hugs him, he kind of recoils because he's so used to people catching on fire like Togata, and then realizes that he's not burning. And he says it doesn't hurt anywhere. And I honestly, the one thing that I'm amazed by is that we don't get more of a response from him about that. That the whole not burning thing, he's like, okay. I feel like maybe he's in shock and he's like, but I'm amazed that he doesn't talk more about the fact that he's not burning anymore. But again, he's like, we need to get her out of the cold. So they go over to the compound where they find there's different vats of things. There looks like cultures and stuff. Agni's ripped. And he keeps saying that he needs to kill her. He needs to kill her, and he gives her the clothes. But he collapses because she's too cute. She's too cute with the clothes. And he says, I feel like I'm dreaming. I don't know what's what anymore, and nothing makes sense now. My head's so far gone, I don't know what's happening, and I can't think. Like, he's overwhelmed. He knows the truth, but this is all overwhelming. His entire, system is overwhelmed, right? And he doesn't know what to do. And so, in this moment, he's like, I'm not on fire anymore. My entire existence the last 8 years is being completely called into question. This girl is now saying she looks like my sister, sounds like my sister. If I tell her she's my sister, she'll believe it. What do I do? Do I kill her? What will that do? So at this point, he's questioning. He's like, if I kill, Judah's technically dead. She's no longer with us. It's Luna now. He's like, if I kill her, what will that do to me? Do I really want to die? And I don't think Agni at this point does anymore because he's found the opportunity to be with his sister. And so he asks if it's Luna, and she has the sparkles in her eyes and says yes. And that smile, some of the faces that Agni makes in this volume are the creepiest things I've ever seen in a manga. And there's nothing horrific about them. They're just so unnatural. Like him smiling. He looks like he's in pain. It's a pain smile because he knows it's a lie. He knows he's lying and he's going along with it. But he's like, I'll do it. If it'll bring me something, I'll do it. Some semblance of feeling. But it is a pain smile. It does not look real. And her with all the clothes. I do like the meta joke of being like, why are there so many clothes? I love that meta joke of being like, wait, why is there so many clothes here? What's happening? But the fact that he's like, I'm like, is he covering his nose from a nosebleed? Because that's where I thought we were going. But her with all the fashion It's absolutely hilarious. And it makes sense there's all the clothes there because there's a bunch of girls living there. I didn't think they were all girls at first. Because we can't hear voices in this, it's a manga, I thought they were guys. I didn't know they were girls. They're all covered up intentionally. So now in hindsight, it makes sense why there's all the clothes. There's multiple women there. Makes sense. And they're like, you're a pervert. And he's like, no. He's like, I don't feel the cold at all. So, but that's the thing. Is that a lie? Who knows? I don't think it is, but we don't know if it is or not because Agni at this point, he's lying through his teeth. He's come to the horrific conclusion that he can lie easily. And lie easily he does. He lies so much in this volume to the point where I'm like, Agni, you're going to get caught in your lies, right? And so the other girls bring him out, Tina and Leanne, and we have the twins. They're there, Ia and the one. And so Tina makes the comment that they could use them for meat. That it's meat is meat. It's no time to worry about what God thinks. We are going to kill these guys ourselves and eat them. And so the sad thing is that Leanne's like, no, if you eat humans, you become inhuman. That was Sensei's teachings. But they left him because his teachings were off. And it seems like maybe Leanne regrets that decision. Leanne regrets the fact that they left Doma. And they're like, we could live for 3 more days if we eat them. And I'm like, 3 days? That's not a lot of time. And so they're like, by Sensei, do you mean Doma? And Agni tells his first lie, which is saying, I was one of his students. And Agni starts to tear up when they ask if he has proof. Because the truth is he killed Doma and all the kids. But if he tells them that now, they're going to kill him and Luna. So he's decided that whatever it takes to keep Luna safe, that's what we're going to do. So he lies. He says that the Bemdorf refugees lit it on fire. Doma and everyone else. And he says, I tried to fight, but look what happened to me. I grabbed Luna and we ran. And he's like, she's been through so much trauma, it's made her dumb in the head. That part's not a lie. That part, other than possibly being rebooted, that part's not a lie. And then I like that Leanne and Leanne has the coveralls to kind of hide that she's pregnant. That all makes sense now. And then the refugees, they tell him to get in the house. And Agni he tells him to take Luna back. And he remembers what was said. Judah can erase your regeneration and blessing. And so he says, now I can finally die. But when Luna starts to say brother, he had resigned himself to death until Luna started shouting brother. And then he looks back and decides he's not going to die yet. It's like, ugh. I love that kind of show not tell moment that Fujimoto does. Then we have this mother trucker in his, monk bowl cut who's like talking about taking all these women in and raping them. And that it's their duty as women. And I want to hashtag feminism. And I'm glad he gets his comeuppance, so I can't say anything. But yeah, I like that. Again, that should have been foreshadowing when Leanne uses the fire that she's Doma's kid. That should have been the foreshadowing. And so I like this guy, he tells Agni, he's like, you pervert, you're a man. Whose side are you on? And then he lies again. He lies again to these bros who let him in to get close so that he can kick their asses. And he smiles at them. He's like, oh, that sounds great. I'm in. Like, he so easily smiles and lies to them. It's kind of insane, right? And then he just, beats the shit out of him and they shoot him. And then he manages, he looks very much like a deity in the sunlight for the others to see. But he lets the guys go. And they ask what he is. They ask what he is, and he doesn't get a chance to answer. So that's a great question. What is Agni? We don't know. Is he an audience surrogate? Are we supposed to relate to him? And he's like, I can't feel the warmth, just the sensation of my hand being held. Again, that in itself points to the fact that he might not be human at all. He can't feel anything. It's almost like, but then Luna feels things. She says she feels warmth in the cold. So what do we make of that? I don't know. I wonder if Luna and them are all, they have that sensory things for reasons, and maybe Agni doesn't. Was Agni able to feel things back before Doma? Was Agni always able to feel things until he became this fire punch, or has he never been able to feel anything? If he's never been able to feel anything, then I'm like, oh, he's not human. But if he has, then that brings some things into question. And so he tells him not to save him, to let him die. And he's like, if I live here, something will overtake me and I'll just lose my mind even more. He's like, dying here will let me be happier. But then Luna says for him to live. And just like every other time he's been told to live, the light bulb comes on and he just snaps back into it again, which almost makes me wonder if live is like a command that his body just reacts to and then he can't help it. I don't know. We got 2 volumes left and his arm starts to go back just a little bit. Like the regenerative powers work a little bit. And then Tina, who's crocheting, talks about who he is and asks his name, and he doesn't remember. Or no, it's Leanne that's crocheting and crocheting the baby gear. Now that I look at her, she does kind of look like Doma. So that's interesting. And so like, we can't let you go because of your comrades, because we don't know if they're your comrades or not. And Agni says he doesn't want to see people die. Right? He says that. He doesn't want to see people die. But that seems in direct contrast to when he kills all the men. So the question is, was he lying? I think he really only cares about Luna. He doesn't care about any of the others. His sister's like all he cares about in this world. And so he asks them to call him brother. And I like that conversation where Leanne says, once you grasp their hand, they're not a stranger anymore. And Agni says it's one of Doma's teachings, right? And they're like, yes, of course. And it's like, well, it's not hard to guess that, right? So Agni, this big dude, he's put to work carrying lumber. The twins are gone. And we have this, what does it say? A time for passion? It says a time for passion, I think, is what the book is called that Leanne is reading. Okay. Oh, Tina. The one reading is Tina. Okay. So, interesting. So, Tina is Doma's daughter. Okay, Tina is Doma's daughter, and she's the one that's pregnant. Leanne is not. Okay. And Tina stays in because she's pregnant and she's not allowed outside. Okay, because they don't want to hurt the baby. Okay, and she starts crying. I feel bad for Tina. So they say the tree has suddenly collapsed and there's the ice. And Luna, she's like on square one, like back at the bottom, learning what ice is. And her smiling, like Agni's smiling back. It's so creepy and unnatural because he's not been doing this whole time. But it's like, all he wants to do is see her be safe. But she's so back to basics that she doesn't understand that she could drown. And of course, Agni freaks out about her. As he's cleaning up the sticks from the shore, he freaks out and he tries to keep saving her. And he says, thank God. Luna needs me. Thank God. Luna's my little sister and I'm her big brother. So again, I think that we're, toying with the idea that maybe they're not human. Maybe a little bit. There's a little something there. But Agni goes back to this idea that he is needed. That this one person needs him. And he does the whole thing with the fist bump to say that, like, this means you won't forget a promise. It hurts a little bit. You can't forget painful memories. Which is a commentary in itself about not forgetting that. But yeah, so little sis Luna can't be alone. Her brother went to go get a deer. He's like, you'll catch a cold. And he went to catch the deer. Yeah, he didn't go to catch the deer. He strangles it with his bare hand and says, Luna can't live without me. The fudge, you say? That face that he makes with just snapping its neck is the most terrifying thing I've seen in this whole manga so far. That face was terrifying. Fujimoto, what the fudge? Like, Agni goes a little bit off the deep end. He's like, she needs me. She's my reason to live. His whole purpose. He's had no purpose to live other than revenge. And now he's transformed that revenge into something else. And the sad thing is, it's a lie. He knows it's not Luna. He knew it wasn't her. But what the hell? And so then the one comes back and says that Io was shot in the leg and taken with him, which is so sad because the refugees that were let go took her, and they're the reason that she's dead in the end, right? And so then, of course, Tina is asking about Doma, and they confirm that he's dead. And I like that they're questioning what to do, and they're like, you can barely regenerate, so there's nothing you can do either. And so they're like, oh, is it dangerous here? And Tina's like, yeah, it's dangerous, but it's all we have. So if you're going to leave, go. Take your sister with you. And him and Luna have this moment where he's like, anywhere other than here, you could meet trouble since you're a girl, Luna. But she said it's dangerous here too. And so he's like, do you want to stay here? And she's like, yes. And so he's like, well, in order for you to stay here and be safe, we've got to get rid of people that would harm you, which includes the people in that refugee group. So him going with the torch, following the tracks to go back to their hideout, I was like, okay, he's going to go beat them all up. And we see that they're like worshiping this cross. So I don't know if they're supposed to be Christian. Like, what is it? I mean, they're not being very Christian, but they have like a deity that they're worshiping. And so, and of course they have her with them, probably because they are going to like assault her. But him lighting his face on fire and like hearing his sister say, become fire punch. I'm like, what the hell? Like him, like just lighting himself on fire. So he basically burns his face off so that they can't recognize him. If anybody gets away, he's not noticeable, and then it grows back slowly. And he's killed everyone in the building. And he's standing on the damn cross. That seems like I was like, come on, Fujimoto. That's on the nose. That's a little on the nose with the metaphor. And him standing on the cross. I'm like, that's pretty on the nose. But him burning his face off, so I'm assuming they can't recognize him. But it's almost like him stripping away his identity or revealing what's underneath. So that's the question. Like, is Fire Punch... It almost seems like he's accepted Fire Punch as his inner demon. But then he's tasked at the end of the volume to kill that inner demon. So it's like, what do we do with that? Right? What do we do with that? So, and then the girl died. And he's like, oh, I came here to save. No. I came to protect Luna. He makes a choice there. He's like, I don't care about these other girls, but I care about my sister. And so then he's like, I can't have them see that my arm grew back. So he cuts it off. Oh, yep. And then brings her back with the stump. And so Tina asks, like, can you kill people that easily? And he says, I'll do whatever it can to protect Luna. And that seems to satisfy Tina for the moment. And then we see, of course, another set of crosses. So again, you talk about the symbolism of the cross that they're praying to and killing for. And then they're memorialized by that cross too against the moon and everything. Symbolism, Fujimoto. And then Agni just wanted to keep Luna safe. Like, he smiles at her like he just killed everyone in an entire house just to keep her safe. And that's when Tina grabs him and tells him that Doma was her father. I love this scene where in there in the dark there. It's just like, she's like, look, Doma was my father. She's like, my father, my 3 brothers, my 4 sisters were all burned to death. They were burned by the same person who burned down Bamdorg. Fire Punch killed them all. So something that's been brought up here is that Agni's no longer the god he once was, right? He's no longer on fire as a deity, but he can make himself Fire Punch for a moment, right? And so there's this idea like everyone else has been treating him like a commoner now, because we talked about how looks are everything in previous volumes. It's how you look is how you're judged. And up until this point, he was viewed as a god, and everybody kept saying, well, it's just because he's on fire all the time and it looks cool. Well, now that he's not on fire all the time and doesn't look as cool, nobody treats him like he's a god anymore. But Tina recognizes he's strong, and she doesn't realize he's Fire Punch, and she's like, Fire Punch is the reason my family is dead. And Agni's like, oh my god. And then she blames Fire Punch for everything that's happened. She's like, it's his fault that the refugees came and killed my friends. It's his fault that I was raped and now I'm pregnant. It's his fault that today Ia is dead, which it is. And she's like, you're strong, so can you help us kill him? And then I just hear Togata cackling in the background like, the plot twist, the plot thickens. I just hear Togata cackling, saying my eyes were opened and I'd become the Doma that I'd hated so much. And now, through Tina, Agni sees exactly what he looks like from the other side. He's like, I blamed Doma for everything. But it wasn't entirely Doma's fault, was it? Doma had a hand in it, but it wasn't entirely the case. And now the shoe is turned. The shoe is on the other foot, and she's blaming me. And now I know how Doma feels. And he's like, I'm protecting someone that isn't my sister. I'm killing people for someone that isn't my sister. But I don't know who I am anymore. He's like, I'm not Agni. I'm not the little boy from all those years ago. I'm not him. I'm not the hero of this story. As we know, we've seen him be quite the opposite. And he's like, I'm not a god either. He's like, other people have decided who I am. And he's like, so now I'm Fire Punch. And so fine, I'll kill him. He wanted to die anyway, so he's like, if I've wanted to die this whole time, so sure. The greatest acting role of his career, right? Oh my gosh. So just the idea of now Agni is going through this identity crisis of who is he, what is he, how can you kill yourself, how will you stage it? Togata, you should have paid more attention in Togata's film class, because how are you going to stage this and make it work? Just, what do we do? So, oh man. I didn't think this story was going to go this way at all. This entire volume was a complete surprise, and I'm kind of floored by it. But the idea of identity and who we are and how we change over time is all getting brought up. It's fascinating. I don't know how Agni is going to handle all this or what he's going to do with this knowledge that Tina's given him. He says he's going to kill Fire Punch, but how's that going to work? Where is the Ice Switch and all of our other players? How are they going to factor into this? How's Luna going to factor into this? Is the Ice Switch going to come for Luna and try to look for her some more to try to restart the whole tree thing again? We have 2 volumes left. Obviously, the next volume is going to be finding Fire Punch and killing him. But then where do we go from there? I'm honestly very excited because I have no clue what's to come. Fujimoto keeps being like, oh, you think this is going to happen? What about the complete opposite? Or what about plan D? You didn't even see plan C. We're just going to go all the way to plan D. And it's like, okay. But I'm so excited to see what's going to happen next. So, yeah, we got 2 volumes left, y'all. I'm really excited. I hope you all are too. But I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. I'm excited to hear your comments down below. But I will be back very soon with Volume 7 of Fire Punch. Bye.